She made double her corporate salary and surpassed six figures in just her second year as a freelance website designer. I can't wait for you to meet my incredible past Score Secrets business student, Emily. Hailing from New Zealand, she was working as a tax consultant, making $43,000 a year. And when she signed her tax consultant contract, she thought, this is the best deal I'm ever going to get. This is killing it in life. But a little way into doing the actual job, she realized she was absolutely miserable. She made the decision she no longer was available to work a job that she hated, but instead she was going to chase her dreams, traveling Europe with her boyfriend, living a life of freedom, working on her own terms, and doing creative work that she really enjoyed. The cherry on top was when she proved to herself and her family and the world that you can do a creative job, travel, and make six figures even without a relevant degree in web design. If you have dreams of being a digital nomad and making six figures, or honestly, if you actually have no interest in travel at all, but you just dream of doing something creative that you love while earning fantastic money, then watch all the way until the end as Emily explains how she went from no web design experience at all to my course to her six-figure digital nomad dream. Hi, Emily, and welcome.
Super fun to be on here as a guest.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Can we start off with the most basic thing? And that is, can you tell me about what were you doing before you became a website designer and what inspired you to become a website designer?
Yeah, super fun question. I feel like I started off similar to you. So I studied accounting, business, all the things, and I actually had a corporate job as a tax consultant. And at some point I decided that wasn't giving me joy. So I left it, booked a one-way ticket to Europe. I had also fallen in love with a German boy at somewhere around this time. And so I sort of moved to Germany for him. And I was a freelance photographer and I was a travel blogger because I wanted to do something creative, but also online. And that was my thought of like how I could pair the two together. And basically, I would say my website design started when I created my own travel blog website, and I loved creating it so much. It was so fun. It was on Squarespace, and I love uploading photos. I love doing the blogs, and I love finding CSS snippets to like make it look cooler and more special. And so I would say it started from there. And then at some point where it really was like, I was like, okay, this is becoming a thing. I have to do this. It's like, yes, or now or never, was when the pandemic hit in 2020 in March. I just booked a one-way ticket to Spain, and I was moving with my German boyfriend in Spain. And obviously I didn't have a visa. Like I didn't have a work permit, literally like was stuck inside doing nothing. And I had limited funds here. So I was like, okay, just around that time, I invested in your course, I think like 4 weeks prior. And so there was this is like a test moment of like, okay, we're going to put everything to use. It's like literally now or never. And just with all the factors, it was really like, I'm really grateful for that push. And so, yeah, I was like, okay, we're doing this. And so I went all in. When lockdown.
So similar to mine, moved to Europe for a guy.
Yeah.
Needed to make money online. Amazing.
Yeah, and I couldn't speak Spanish at that stage, and I'm not gonna get a job, and also no one was working at that point during the pandemic. So I was like, literally, this is my only way.
Amazing. Okay, cool. So tell me about that. So you got the course, pandemic hits. Tell me about the timeline from you deciding to do this to you actually getting some sort of an income from it.
It's funny. It kind of goes a bit back to front. It's not a linear trajectory. Before that, I'd say maybe even a year already before, I had a couple of family friends reach out to me and be like, oh, this is cool. To my mom, actually, it's like, oh, your daughter, she does websites. Can she build this one? And so I built our neighbors some websites, and I charged, I think, $350. And I thought, holy shit, I'm crushing it. This is insane. I was so proud of myself. And those are the first two websites I ever made. This is prior to taking your course. And then when I did take your course, I was also going into a particular shop. She was kind of like a florist, and she was only selling her flowers in store. And I thought, hey, she could sell her flowers online and also grow her business in that way. And so we just had a conversation about it. And it was about the same time I took your course. And with that, it gave me the confidence to be able to charge 2,000 Australian dollars at that time. It was sort of like an e-commerce website. And I could not believe somebody paid me 2,000 to design them a website. And I had the most fun doing it and I loved it. And I was pinching myself. That was like one of the best moments ever. And so that was before I moved to Spain. And then like kind of 4 weeks later, I moved to Spain. So that really gave me the validation that I needed, the confidence that like, yes, someone will pay you for this. You do good work and that this can work out. And so, yeah, I suppose that was what I needed to go into the pandemic.
That's so good. Okay. And then tell me about that. So you built this lady website. Did you have any, like, did you go to university for anything tech related, or like, tell me about your level of like Squarespace experience before?
Only self-learn, like literally, like I'd never taken design. I've always been a creative person, but I was always pushed sort of by my parents to do something more like logical and, you know,
accounting.
Yeah, accounting, as you do. And so something more dry, but I've always been a really creative person. I just wasn't allowed to really like express that. And so through my photography and through my travel blog, I really cultivated, I don't know, like this love for design. I would say I learned it on my own, but also just the more you do, the more you learn. Tech-wise, CSS-wise, literally Googling, YouTube, copy paste, this works, this doesn't work. It was a lot of trial and error, but that's really like how I taught myself that.
Okay, amazing. And then talk to me about, so you get this client, $2,000, you're on top of the world, stoked someone's going to pay you $2,000 to do this. Also, that's quite good. I feel like most people, they'll start off, charging very low amounts. I mean, we all do the same thing. And then we realize like, oh, people do really pay $2,000 or something. But you're doing projects a lot more than $2,000 now. Can you talk about like what clients typically invest with you, or like your highest, largest projects to date?
Yeah, I was proud of the 2,000. And I slowly kind of like creeped that up. And I think my first milestone that I hit was when I had a project booked in for 5.6K. And that was that very year, in the same year of 2020, in December, I finished and booked in and finished a project for 5.6K. I think, or was it 6K? Anyway, and that was my first 10K month ever. And that was the end of my like first year. And there wasn't even a full year. And I was just beyond stoked. The second year, I had a couple more 10K months. And I booked in a project. It was a full project. It wasn't just website. It was like kind of branding, website, and also like integrating some like email marketing things and SEO as well. So that was a full project, and that was 10K. And then a couple months ago, maybe I booked in a project, again, a full one, and that was 12K project. And this is an e-commerce one. So super stoked that if you told me this like even 3 years ago, I wouldn't believe you, that this is possible. And I just feel really grateful that clients trust me with this much, like this amount of money, and trust that they're going to make it back more, obviously.
You do incredible work, like looking at your website and your portfolio pieces. I'm like, girl, you're commanding those prices for a reason. Can you talk about that? Can you talk about what is different between when you were charging like $350 to like $12,000? What is, if someone's sitting there like, how do I get to $12,000 projects? Like, what would you say were the most important factors in being able to charge that amount?
So good question. So many facets to it. The biggest thing I have to say is it's making your client experience a premium one. It's not like they're not just coming to you and you're not just creating a website. When you go to stay at, I don't know, some fancy hotel, it's like you're not just staying there for the room or for the beds or to sleep at night. You're there for the experience. Like what else around it makes it feel super premium. And that could also just be your personality. It could be that you've been in business and you have business strategies and you come at it from like a strategic point of view rather than a design point of view. And how seamless is the entire process? Do they have to reach out to you all the time, or do you have a really streamlined, efficient process that makes them feel really like handheld and that they have to do minimal work, like, and then when you deliver the website, is it just, here's a link, or is it an email and a Loom video and walking them through it and making them really feel like this is so personalized and this is such a premium experience?
That's a really good point.
Yeah. So one is like making it an experience that people see is super highly valuable. Two, I would say, value-based pricing. And so two parts to this. One is like attracting the sort of clients who have the budget for what you want to charge. Like if you only want to charge $500 websites, then there's one group of people. But if you want to charge 10K for a project, there are people out there, but maybe you're not marketing towards them. If you're always talking about money, like, oh, this is super affordable, this is really cheap, and your language is geared towards people who are like really like frugal, then you're going to attract those people. So it's like, how do those people think and what's their language and use their language, right?
Yeah. Nailed it. Yep.
So good. And then the second part to that was value-based pricing. So if someone comes to you and they're just starting out their business, they haven't made any revenue, then obviously it's not as valuable for them. It's like to invest 10K into a project than it is for somebody who has a functioning business model. They make millions in revenue, then they can spend a lot more, invest a lot more in this project. So it's like, what is the perceived value of this project to them? And you're going to really struggle to charge 10K to a mom who's starting out her photography business. Can charge 10K to somebody who has a functioning business and is selling a lot and has been in business for 3 years. And so like gearing your project prices accordingly to the value it's actually going to give to the business.
Love that.
So
yeah, really interesting. And then can you talk about that? So people, I already know what people are thinking, and they're just like, well, how do you find the clients who pay 10 grand, 12 grand, whatever? Can you talk about like, what's the marketing strategy / like, how do clients tend to find you? How did it get started? And like, what is it looking like now? Because it might not be the same as like when you first got clients, I guess.
Yeah, totally. I'll preface this by saying like, trust is the currency of business. You don't have trust, people aren't going to invest high amounts in you if they don't trust you. And trust often comes from somebody else's referral or recommendation as well. So when you're starting out, you're probably not going to get these clients because you haven't built up that rapport. You haven't built up a network of people who trust you. But I would say when you are starting out, keeping in mind if you do want those kind of clients, to start networking in that kind of realm of people and businesses that you want, and building trust through communication and then through good work as well. And then when you work with a few of these like higher end clients, they start referring you to other people who start referring you to other people. And so this can be like a negative vicious cycle or like a positive one, because if you are only ever working with like low paying, like really like frugal clients who want to squeeze everything out of you, they're going to recommend you to other of their friends who are in that, and then you wonder why you keep getting stuck in that. So it's really important that like you know who your ideal clients are, and you're always catering to them. Your messaging, everything, your experience is catering towards them, and over time like you will attract more and more of those people. I would say also investing in masterminds or investing in being coached with people who are of that caliber and higher thinking, who are there, that I would say I got my foot in the door that way as well. And so like investing in masterminds was massive. Yeah.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah. Literally getting around them, making friends with them, and then referrals from there.
Yeah, because you'll never get there if people don't trust you. And and really, especially people in like on the higher end who are like already really successful, they tend to only go with recommendations and referrals. They don't waste time searching who might be the cheapest, who might, so the time is everything to them. And
in my masterminds, that's exactly what's happening. Is like people come to me being like, hey, I need a website designer. I know you know all of them, so like tell me who's good.
Exactly. And you're the expert on that. So they're going to come to you and trust you and your recommendation, right? So that's just kind of how things, they're not looking for a deal. They're looking for the best.
Exactly. Yeah. They're looking for someone who does fantastic work, gets it done on time, really understands like what vision and vibe they want and everything. And totally. Tell me else what you did. You surpassed your corporate salary. and then hit six figures. Can you tell me about how did that happen? How long did that take? Like, what was that? What did that look like?
Yeah, probably, one of my proudest moments. My corporate salary back in New Zealand as a tax consultant, grad salary, I remember signing it and it was 43,000 New Zealand dollars. And I thought, this is the best deal I'm ever going to get. This is like killing it in life. So many people will want this. And when I quit, I thought, oh, like, am I stupid? Like, am I ever going to get that back? And it was a very real fear. And so the feeling of finishing my second year, so 2021, finishing that year, surpassing six figures in New Zealand dollars, I think it was like 1,000, 100,000 something, so it's a little bit over. It was the most amazing feeling, and also like middle finger to just my corporate salary. And also just to everybody who, including some people in my family who just didn't believe that you could do this and make this fluffy job, creative job, digitally, online, while traveling, with no degree, within your second year. Like, no way. Like, if you told me, I would have been like, oh, I don't know if that's possible. And to so many people, it seems impossible, but it's not. And I think that was just like the really beautiful thing of like, okay, I can do this, and then what else? What else is possible? And to think, if I hadn't made that decision, where would I be? Still making half of that, sitting in a corporate job at a desk that I despise, feeling myself drained.
What would be your advice for someone who's there and they're afraid? Like, they're like, I don't know if this is going to work. Like, what would you have told your old self if you looked at yourself sitting at that desk in the corporate job, advising on accounting things?
Yeah.
Hating it.
I would say ask yourself this question 10 years now, even 5 years from now. Say if you're in your early 20s or your mid 20s, when you're 30, what would you have regretted more? What would you rather trade, like safety, security, or would you rather trade that for this possibility? And I would say also to like dive into your why. Like, it always comes back to your why. It's like, why do you want a different life? What does that look like for you? Because if you don't even know what that looks like, you have nothing to hold on to when the going gets tough. And for me, that was freedom. That was being with my boyfriend at the time. That was working on my own terms. And freedom to me is everything. I really held on to that vision of I made it work because I was determined to. I figured everything out because I had the motivation. I had the why to figure it out. But if you don't have the why and you're like, oh, that looks nice because people do it on Instagram, like, you're gonna fail. Like, because then it's so easy to just go back to your corporate job. And there were times when I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is so hard. Like, maybe I was wrong. Like, maybe I should go back to that corporate job or something. And then I remembered how miserable I was. And I was like, that was just, we are unavailable for that. We are not available for that. And I think at some point you just have to make that decision for yourself. Like, what are you not available to?
That's good. Okay, so tell me about, you're from New Zealand. You've been in Europe for a really long time. What is your kind of like life look like for just your digital nomading? Tell me kind of like where you are, what you're doing, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Like, since I've become a web designer.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I started in 2020. I was in Sevilla. We lived in Sevilla for a while. We moved back to Germany for the summer, and then we went back to Sevilla for a full school year, and then back to Germany. In between, I love traveling to Italy. And then at the start of this year, I decided to move to Portugal, Lisbon specifically, for the digital nomad community, which is amazing. People are everything. And I think when you are traveling and you have this digital nomad lifestyle, after a while, it gets lonely, I would say. You're doing it on your own, and you crave to have people who understand you and this lifestyle that you have. And so Lisbon for me was home. I really found home in the people. And then recently I met a boy who's more nomadic than I am. And so I'm now currently in Malta, and he's going to meet me here. We spent 2 weeks in Cyprus. Before that, we were in Rome. I was in Florence. Yeah, so kind of at the moment, all over the place. And And it is hard to juggle work.
That was my next question.
Yeah, great. Okay, cool. So
yeah, how are you finding like managing projects? Well, like, is that possible to do it? What is, yeah.
Yeah, I would say at the beginning of my business, no. Yep. And I'm actually really glad, like at the start of my business, what it looked like actually at the start, the first 2 years, I would say I was based in one place and I would work 7 days a week and I would basically the whole day. And I was so in the doing, there was no way I could have traveled. And I tried a couple times and I just went crazy. Like really, I went crazy. You can't enjoy traveling and you also can't really do your work properly. So that was really not fun. So at the start, I would say like if you do want a life of traveling and ease and also working, set systems up in place, start hiring people as soon as you can, because the only reason now I'm able to enjoy it is I've set up systems in place. I have a small team of people, like really small, who help me with a few bits and pieces here and there. And because I have the process down pat, I've also automated a lot of processes through like CRM systems like Dipsado. So I have to do less.
Yep.
And now I have more time. And also when you start booking in more higher end clients, you're not doing 3-4 different projects at one time. You're maybe doing max 2.
Yep. I think what you said there, I also really like that because I feel like that's really honest and realistic about what it takes to start. It does take like mad dedication and really committing like a ton of hours. Like I was definitely working, say, I'm sure you were saying like, well, I've never worked a corporate job, but like if I had, like I was working more than 9 to 5 when I started. I'm not now, but I was then. Yes. And I think that's important for people to realize that like that is the realistic situation of starting a business.
Definitely. And I think you don't see it as I never track my hours, but like even when you're on holiday, when you're walking down the street, you're thinking that's working. Do you know, you never switch off. And you really never switch off. And that is the hard thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Though I do switch off on vacation. That's the thing where I was like, even if that comes in my mind, I'm like, nope, on vacation, you're not allowed in my brain right now. So yeah.
But also when you're on vacation, when I'm on vacation, I get the most like creative thoughts because it's like super spacious. And so it's not work, but like I do allow the thoughts to come and I write them down.
I agree with that. Yeah, I will write those thoughts down. Yeah, exactly. If I'm stressing about a problem though, I'm like, nope, that's not allowed. But yes, the ideas thing, 100%. You get so many good ideas on vacation.
Love that.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Well, that's interesting. So you literally said you don't track your hours. Could you give us like, do you have any idea like roughly how much you work now?
Yeah, I could say it does vary from week to week, depending on how many projects I have in one go. But I would say it could vary between 25, maybe even 20 to like 30 now, which is extortion. It's so much better than it used to be. I swear I was working like 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
I really had to track it. The amount of time I spent in my co-working space was like 9 a.m. to like 9 p.m., like Monday to like Saturday.
Yeah.
I had no life. And I also don't want to scare people as to like, you know, if you start a business, like you really have to hustle and grind it. But it does take a lot of hard work. But I think also if you do it smartly and you do invest in, say, good mentors or coaches who show you the way to get to success without having to burn out and hustle so hard, do it. Do it. It's worth your sanity.
Yeah, totally. I hear that. Speaking of that, actually, what would you say to someone who's on the fence right now about you took Square Secrets business? What would you say to someone who's like, thinking about it, not quite sure? What would you say to them?
First, I think you have to like, if you're going to take it, go all in. Do you want to do like, how badly do you want to like make this work? And if you do really want to badly make this work, do it. Just download everything, really work through it and just set your, like, I would say it gave me the confidence to be able to charge around 3K when I first started, because I had systems in place, because I had already set up sort of like a templated experience that is worth that. And it took years off. Like, I think if I had to learn everything that Paige had taught in that course, it would take me a year, if not more. So it gave me the confidence to like hit the ground running. It gave me the confidence. It gave me the templates, the systems. And systems, by the way, is everything. Like, you need a system. If you don't have a system, like, shit, it's the fan. So she really gives you a system. And I think that was worth its weight in gold. And also some of the guest experts that share different marketing strategies, and being able to like have all of that expert knowledge passed down to you. Because when you start off, you don't know who to ask and where to seek advice, and why not seek it from people who've been there and done it. So that for me, I felt like I concentrated maybe a couple years worth of learning by myself into like, I think I binge watched your course in like 2 weeks and like went through everything. And so, yeah, for me, it was like 2 weeks, and I like had all the downloads I needed.
Amazing. Yeah. That's so good. Can you talk about how is your life different now? Like, if you compare yourself to sitting in I mean, it's very different, but think about like, your life sitting in the corporate office, your life now, like, how is this more in line with what you were like hoping or dreaming of? Or I don't know, what's...
Oh, yeah. 100%, hands down. Like, this was the life that early 20-year-old me could only ever have dreamed of. And I think a lot of the people that I had around me, it wasn't that they weren't supportive, but they weren't in this world. And so they said it from a place of love when they said this isn't possible, that you're dreaming too hard. And I think a lot of people go through that. So depending on your circle, but I'd say, yeah, that was really difficult to kind of not have people around you who believed in you or believed in this path of success. Yeah, I'd say not that you have to cut them out of your life, but like start finding people, circles. It could be also within like communities, like when you're in Paige's course, she's got a Facebook group and whatnot, surrounding yourself with people who are like on that same trajectory, wanting that similar lifestyle and really cheering each other on. That made a world of difference, because you have each other believing in each other and supporting each other. And I think that's what ultimately gave me the confidence and the belief that like it works and that I can get. And having mentors. And so now I am where I am. Sure, I got here by myself, but like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the people around me and the mentors. Yeah.
Can you also speak about, so now you're in the digital nomad scene.
Yeah.
In terms of talking about like encouragement and possibilities and the people you were around before and the people you're around now, like how is that different as well?
Oh, it's like day and night. It's back. So like, I definitely would say growing up, going to the high school that I went to in university, I had a lot of like traditional minded people. The things you talk about and what they see as possible for them, they all wanted to just climb the corporate ladder, basically. It's the types of conversations, the values are very different. And if you do something that's different, they kind of want to like snatch you and bring you back to like the norm sort of thing. And if you say, hey, I want to start a web design business, I've never done it before, but I want to hit 6 figures within 2 years, they'd be like, yeah, no. And you won't get, I'd say you'd be hard pressed to find a single person who like says, oh, I really believe you and genuinely mean it. They'd probably be like, yeah, we believe in you. Yeah, go do it. But they're kind of expecting you to fail. Do you know what I mean? And I think that was really hard, because I did have people who were like sort of like fake supportive me, but I didn't really genuinely feel the belief behind it. And then now in my kind of world of digital nomads, entrepreneurs, a lot of people who work for themselves, have their own businesses, you say you want to do something, they're like, yeah, cool, why not? You can do it. You want to build a 7-figure business? Done. You're a 7-figure business owner in my eyes. Or you want to, I don't know, be a DJ, like go, done. Like, there's just this belief, like you can do what you want and we will be here to support you genuinely. And they'll think of connections and be like, oh, I'll put you in touch with this person who will help you. And they're just so supportive. And it's like, oh, find yourself a group of people like that.
Yeah. I also found the same thing when I started traveling and just meeting people. And it was like, whatever crazy idea you came up with, people were like, that's crazy. Like, how do you do that? I'm like, sweet, thanks.
Yeah.
If someone is not in the digital nomad world, do you have any suggestions of how they might start
getting in there?
Like, feeling the possibility.
Yeah. It depends where you are in the world. For example, when I was living in Germany, we were in a small village, and I always thought I loved the countryside life, but actually the community, it wasn't like as open and international as I would have liked, because I really thrive in that kind of environment. So one is like, what kind of environment do you thrive in? And if you do really want and thrive in a digital nomad scene, then do your research. But places like Lisbon is amazing. It's just a hub. Other places could be like Barcelona or like Buenos Aires in Argentina, just to name a few. And they have communities already, and they've got like events set in place. And one of the things I loved about Lisbon is every Thursday, well, basically every day, you can find things to do, groups of people to be with and hang out with. And there's just like endless possibilities. And it's not just party. It's like really beautiful, like deep, soulful, spiritual experiences as well. Dinner parties, going out for runs with people. Like you can, whatever your passions are, like you can find a group of people and do that with that group of people. If not, make your own group. Yeah, that I would say flock to a place where you feel like you would thrive, and with people that like encourage.
I also want to give you a second to plug your own podcast, because I feel like your podcast is also a great, inspiring place. Can you tell us what it is?
Yeah. So during this year, I felt a little bit burnt out, and I wanted to do something. And I kind of came back to like, what am I passionate about? And I love telling stories. And it's like, what do I want to share? And I just feel like there's so much of this, like this wisdom, this way of thinking, this access from people who have done this alternative path and succeeded. And then there are so many people who are like wanting to get started, and then there was no bridge. I mean, there are some bridges that exist, but like I wanted to make more of a bridge between the two. And so I thought I had this idea to start a podcast called Free Wild Souls. And basically the name came about because I don't know, I really love living a free, wild, and soulful life. And I think a lot of people do too. And so it's a series between like, I alternate between solo episodes of sharing things that helped me, or just, you know, my musings, and then guest episodes, for example, like you, from people who have done something a little bit differently, a little bit creatively, whether it is starting their own business or working remotely, just like this digital nomading lifestyle. But not everybody is a digital nomad either. You know, it's just kind of like, let's call it non-traditional life. So just bringing about a different way of thinking, a fresh perspective to people who perhaps are in a circle or a bubble of very traditional, conventional lifestyle. And that's just the bridge for that. So if you're interested, go check it out. It's freewildsouls.com/podcast, or you can just find it on Spotify, Free Wild Souls.
Good. Amazing. Yeah. I think that's a perfect place to start, because I understand for people, it's like, sounds like a really cool thing to like get involved with this digital nomad scene, but like, what if I am in this tiny town in Germany or something and can't find anything? Then finding it online is like a really good place to start.
Yeah. And also like sharing stories from people who like came from a small village in Germany as well, and went to New Zealand and started a wildly successful 6-figure photography business. And it's like, I try to really be diverse in the guests that I choose. And so it's like, you'll find people across the field doing lots of different things. So it's not just like, if you're thinking, oh, web design, I don't really want to be a web designer, that's cool. Like there are other people who've done different things. And so it's like opening yourself up to what kind of possibilities there are.
Yeah.
I mean, I still meet people and I'm like, how do you make money? Like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question.
There are so many creative ways to make money out there.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, then can you also tell me, so you at some point decided you needed help in your business. What was happening in the business at the point in which you were like, I need to hire a team member? What was going on then?
So I would say, thanks to like Square Secrets business, I kind of already had this idea of outsourcing implanted in my head, and a process for like, how to find one and like what's outsourced and all the things. So that was great. I saved it for later. I would say the first thing I hired out was actually social media, because I was super emotionally attached to social media. It's our work, it's our creation, it's our baby that we're putting out there. And to write something about it, to put it out there for critique, or to start with 0 followers and have nobody see it, nobody like it, it's like a bit of a wounded ego, you know? And so I decided I wanted to be emotionally detached from that. And so I hired a social media person to come help me create some of the graphics and actually get the engagement going. And she built up a following, I think, to about 750. And that was amazing. And then I kind of had a flirtatious period with Pinterest where I thought, okay, cool. Pinterest would be great because it's visual and I'm in the visual creative industry. But honestly, like I didn't see the returns on it that I wanted to. And I was spending probably like $200, $300 a month. And it was money that was better invested in other parts of my business, I would say, or even in courses. So I decided to stop Pinterest, kept Instagram going. I'm kind of glad I did. However, I will say, I mean, look at Paige, like you built your entire business without actually having to be super active on Instagram. I would say if I had to do it again, I probably wouldn't invest so much time on Instagram or invest so much money into social strategy. I would have preferred to have hired a copywriter to blog for me a single week. That would have been much better spent. And now, really. And so now I have a team. I have a copywriter who helps me write some content, some blogging, sometimes newsletters and whatnot. So she's amazing. And I also have, she also writes my podcast show notes, by the way. She's just amazing. It's amazing when you just outsource something and it gets done so well. It comes back to you and you're just like, approved, no more edits, done. And I can't even tell you the feeling. And then so that, and I have a VA as well. So she kind of does a lot of other little things, like anything else in my business, from like kind of tracking some business expenses to helping me put testimonials or blog posts and putting blog posts into client websites, things that are like quite repetitive. Yeah, sort of just day to day, any general tasks that need to be done. So we're like a really small team. She's part-time, my VA is part-time, my copywriter's part-time. They've got other clients as well. Yeah. And so that's it for now. I was considering hiring a social media manager again, but I'm hitting pause on that.
Yeah. This is interesting. So many people, when they start a web design business, they think I have to be on Instagram. Yeah. And it can be a super, super successful marketing strategy if you enjoy being on it. And I'm just not one of those people. And so I feel like, could you talk about that? Could you talk about like, you basically have this perspective of like built a web design business, used Instagram, didn't use Instagram, like kind of like on and off and everything. Can you talk about what did you learn? Like what, if you could kind of like condense down your experience, what would you say you learned about that?
I would say that your social, like if you don't have a good social media feed and you don't want to put effort into it, don't do it because it looks worse. It does more harm than if you were to do it well. So if you're going to do it well, I would say that put more effort into engagement than the post itself, because sometimes we can put 4 hours into a post and nobody sees it, and then it's gone after 24 hours. Doesn't make sense. Not a good use of your time. I think engagement is what really matters on social media, not always the content of your post. And then also like using your social media as almost an extension to your website. Like before people go onto your website, they want to be convinced that it's worth going to your website. And so have almost everything laid out in stories and little bubble highlights that people can just read through. Done. Like, and then they will know whether or not they want to like go further. So make it super easy for them as well. So being strategic about your social media, not just like a pretty place to share a pretty thing. Like, what is it doing for you? Why are you doing it? Is there a strategy? If there's not a strategy, it's a waste of time. Yep. And so there are months where I'm like, cool, this month I've got a strategy and I will spend a lot of time creating the content and whatnot. And I really feel like we see traction because there's a strategy. And then other months where I'm just like super tired and I don't know, I don't have any strategy for social media. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Then I actually stop and I pause social media in those months, because otherwise you're throwing money for nothing. Totally. If you don't have a strategy. Intention. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think it's so interesting. I think it's a beautiful thing to see, like for people who are watching this to be like, okay, Some people super successfully use Instagram. Others are like, I built this like 6-figure web design business. Don't use social media.
You don't need it. And if you tell, and like, I think it's like one of those shoulds, like a lot of people are like, oh, I should because I'm in the creative industry and everybody cares about it. It's like, you'd be surprised what people care about, actually. And you can make it work without social media if you want to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Amazing. Emily, your takeaways are beautiful and I'm so proud of you. I mean, 6 figures in 2 years is like a hell of a success. So I'm so impressed and thrilled for you that you get to live your dream digital nomad life around Europe now.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was all worth it, when you look back. Yeah.
Isn't she so inspiring? I also find it hilarious that our stories are so similar and that we both moved to Europe for a guy and built a business to support that. Now, if you are also dreaming of being a website designer, there is one skill that you really, really need to get right. And that's coming up with tons of incredible ideas for building creative, jaw-dropping websites, which clients are just falling over themselves to book in for. But if you're feeling all out of creative ideas or like all the websites that you build start all looking kind of the same, then definitely watch this video next for heaps of incredibly gorgeous example websites for inspiration.